The console light flickers, a slow pulse against the dead server racks that loom like forgotten monuments. The air hangs thick with the scent of ozone and stale coffee, a metallic tang from the war surplus transmitter humming with defiant life. Hand-labeled vinyl spins on a borrowed turntable, its grooves whispering histories no official broadcast will ever carry.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Across Oronyazicht, the dial sits at 61 Fahrenheit under partly cloudy skies. Wind check, north-northwest at 6 miles an hour. Tonight, we're tuning our internal compass, mapping where our self-worth grounds us, asserting unwavering autonomy, and building resilient architectures for shared dignity. In Beltsville, Maryland, a bank robbery attempt weaponized a kitten. This bizarre act rips through the fabric of civic trust, revealing profound desperation beneath the absurd.
Concrete facts. David Andrew Bencart, 30, attempted to rob a PNC bank in Beltsville, Maryland, using Magnolia, a 3-month-old tuxedo kitten, as a purported weapon. Who's exposed? Not just the animal and the desperate individual, but the systemic gaps in mental health support and economic stability that allow such public crises to escalate. The bank's security protocols and local law enforcement are also exposed as reactive, not preventive, to such unusual threats. One alternative path: dedicated community crisis intervention teams could preemptively engage individuals exhibiting severe distress, offering support long before a desperate act like this impacts a PNC branch or an innocent animal.
Hold that thread. Next signal. School in remote SA Indigenous community on list.
Lex traces the structural fracture. This bizarre incident, a kitten as a weapon, echoes ancient trickster lore, where the vulnerable or unexpected reveals the hubris of rigid systems. It's a distorted echo of the spider and the pot of wisdom myth, where the small overlooked element ultimately exposes grander flaws. Who carries this next? Every community grappling with the visible symptoms of invisible suffering.
Patching in a caller, the contrarian. You're on the signal.
So what's the tangible cost here, beyond the headlines? Does this incident, however absurd, truly shift resources towards the deeper structural issues? Or do we just lock up the perpetrator and forget the symptoms?
Static lifts for half a breath. The vinyl crackles under the needle. The line is live. Your skepticism is warranted. We're not seeking hope in the absurd, but sharp discernment to separate the toxic residue from the architectural signal. The trade-off is clear: the immediate shock value of such an act against the deeper, ignored needs of individuals in crisis. Our next move: deploy the local signal radar to identify urgent community resource gaps, mapping where individuals might fall through the cracks before desperation manifests. This systemic neglect, this fear of the other, it's a pattern we see echoed globally, from Maryland to the streets of Nairobi. In Kenya, the line between civic protest and state-sanctioned violence blurs. So-called youth groups are deployed against citizens, shattering the architecture of consent.
Cool down is when habits set. Swap the tiresome combo for a clean 2-step people want to repeat.
Concrete facts. During Kenya's 2023 protests, armed individuals, often labeled youth groups, were hired to disrupt rallies and assault civil rights activists. Police inaction on these 105-plus documented incidents exposes the Kenyan government and its law enforcement apparatus as complicit in proxy violence. It strips citizens of their right to peaceful assembly, fundamentally eroding civic provenance. One alternative path: the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, could be fully empowered with autonomous funding and international observer status to investigate every instance of alleged police complicity and youth group violence, bypassing political interference.
Lex exposes the state's calculated proxy violence. This isn't new. It's a modern echo of colonial divide-and-rule tactics, where marginalized groups are turned against each other to maintain power. It's a civic poison, a divide-et-impera myth, played out with real bodies on the streets of Nairobi. The countless Kenyan citizens whose dignity is violated, demanding global human rights organizations amplify their calls for genuine democratic space.
Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
Beyond the outrage, what's the actual cost to Kenya's stability and international standing when its own government undermines its people's right to protest? Who pays for this broken trust in the long run?
Your challenge is precise. This isn't merely a story of violence, it's an architectural flaw in governance, eroding civic consent and dignity. The trade-off is maintaining a facade of order through intimidation versus fostering a truly democratic civil society. Our next move, the Gig Passport Mesh, could host a Truth Compass module, allowing citizens to stamp verifiable observations of civic interference, mapping patterns of coercion across regions. This systematic disregard for human dignity, this structural abuse, finds a chilling echo in other vulnerable communities, like the Indigenous children of South Australia. The silence around child abuse in remote South Australian Indigenous communities has been shattered by a torrent of charges, demanding we confront the systemic failures that enabled such profound betrayal.
Concrete facts. Hamish Tate, 35, faces 329 child abuse charges across 62 institutions, with 55 specific locations, including a remote Indigenous community school in South Australia, exposed by federal police. These crimes span 2009 to 2025. Who's exposed? Every layer of institutional oversight, the school administrations, child protection agencies, government funding bodies, and even the local community structures that failed to detect or address the widespread abuse. The structural integrity of care for vulnerable children is completely compromised. One alternative path: mandate independent, culturally appropriate child protection advocates embedded directly within Indigenous communities, empowered with direct reporting lines to federal authorities, bypassing state-level bureaucratic bottlenecks and ensuring the provenance of every child's safety.
Your question cuts to the core. The trade-off is clear: institutional reputation versus the absolute safety and dignity of children. Our next move: we must design a system, possibly integrating a provenance ledger into Lesson Planner, creating immutable digital records for every interaction and oversight report within childcare facilities, ensuring transparency and accountability, asserting that self-worth is structural, not contingent. This is how we build resilient architectures of care.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.